Some mornings in Peppa's mini town start with the sun slipping through the curtains, casting soft, golden light across the rooftops and waking the town gently into action. Today, Peppa stepped out onto her porch, inhaled the crisp air, and noticed the subtle hustle of her neighbors going about their routines. The bakery smelled of warm bread, the post van hummed past, and somewhere, close enough to hear, an energetic bell rang two short, sharp peals. Peppa was in her late 20s now, but her curiosity had only sharpened with age. Mini Town was thriving, shops, homes, and park benches, all watched over by familiar, friendly faces she'd grown up alongside. This morning, the ringing bell was unusual. It didn't sound like the church or the ice cream cart or the bicycle delivery service. She craned her neck over the hedge and, with a flutter of excitement, saw a ribbon of smoke twirling above the new brick building across the street, bright red doors, big circular windows, and a striking golden emblem above, the fire station. "Oh," she exclaimed, "that must be open for visitors today." She fished her scarf from the coat rack and stepped onto the lively pavement. She wasn't alone. Susie, her best friend and neighbor, was already striding down the walk with her notepad clutched under her arm. Susie was a keen reporter for the Mini Town Gazette these days, her pen never far from her grasp.
"Peppa."
"Morning," Susie called. "Morning, Susie. Did you hear the bell? I think the fire station's holding an open day. Shall we?" Within minutes, they'd gathered a posse. Danny, with strong arms and a quick laugh, worked at the garage. Pedro was now a paramedic and arrived just as they reached the station, jogging from his blue and white van. Even Rebecca, a primary school teacher, turned up with a satchel full of questions about fire safety. The fire chief, a tall, kind woman with silvered hair and an air of gentle authority, met them at the red doors. A badge gleamed on her lapel. "Welcome, everyone, to Mini Town Fire Station. Today's your day to discover what keeping our town safe means and maybe step into a firefighter's boots for a while." Peppa's eyes sparkled. She'd always wondered about being a firefighter. The uniforms, the sense of purpose, the teamwork, it all seemed so thrilling and meaningful. Inside the engine bay, the fire chief showed them the fire engines, ladders gleaming, hoses neatly coiled, boots standing in straight lines. Each piece of equipment had its place, each tool a purpose. "We get a handful of calls every month," the chief explained. "Most are for things like stuck cats or small brush fires, but every role here matters. We train, we check equipment, and we look out for one another." Susie scribbled notes. Rebecca asked about smoke alarms. Danny peered under the fire engine's hood, while Pedro chatted about first aid connections with the paramedics. Peppa, however, lingered near the kit rack, running her hands along the sturdy yellow helmets and polished jackets. The idea planted itself in her mind, quietly blooming. Maybe, just for today, she could become a firefighter too. The chief handed out trial gear, helmets in varying sizes, jackets just stiff enough to feel official. Even as adults, Peppa and her friends found themselves grinning like the younger versions of themselves they secretly still were. Training began. Under the shade of a sycamore, the chief outlined basic drills: rolling a hose, carrying equipment, learning the difference between a fire blanket and an extinguisher. Peppa tried hefting the hose. It was heavier than it looked, with a stubborn mind of its own, unwilling to uncurl in a straight line. With guidance from the chief and some strategic help from Danny, she soon managed a clumsy but respectable imitation of a professional. Susie, always keen for a scoop, surprised everyone with her skill at organizing the equipment, making sure everything was exactly where it belonged. The chief didn't waste words. She demonstrated, corrected gently, and let them learn from their own mistakes. Being a firefighter means being ready to help each other, to think quickly, and to trust your team, she said. After an hour or so, they gathered around the back garden, waiting for the next drill. Suddenly, an alarm buzzed. The chief's radio crackled. Control to chief. There's a report of smoke coming from the little library on Main Street. No flame seen, but it's worth checking. Without hesitating, the chief turned to the group. We've got a minor emergency, team. Want to tag along and see what a real call's like? The answer, of course, was yes. They piled into the fire engine, seatbelts snapping shut, and drove safely but briskly through the winding streets.